Charter Oak International Academy, one of the public schools of the West Hartford Public Schools, and a beautiful facility. I'm Carole Mulready, Chairman of the Voter Service of the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford, and I'll serve as the moderator for this debate for the West Hartford Town Council. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization which encourages informed and active participation by citizens in government. And we're pleased to bring this debate to you in cooperation with WHCTV, or West Hartford Community Interactive Television. We have assistance from volunteer timers and also for question screeners. The audience is encouraged to submit written questions to the screeners who will help the moderator to avoid duplication and to check for appropriate questions for the role of the municipal government. The debate will be conducted in what is called a cumulative time format, in which the candidates are given a specific amount of time to use as they determine best to answer the questions posed to them. It will be 8 minutes for each candidate, and again, they can use the time as they please. The timers will show them how much time they have remaining in certain periods, 6 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, and so on, down to 10 seconds. The candidates are encouraged to rebut and surrebut. They should just raise their hand. Should their policy and philosophical differences as they perceive them merit an additional comment. I will initiate each round of questions, and we did a lottery at the beginning, which many of you saw, to give the order of speaking. Each candidate will have a separate 2-minute closing to reach each of you in any manner that is helpful to them. It's my pleasure now to introduce the candidates who have committed their time and energies to this important aspect of the democratic process, running for elective office. And I am reading their bios in the order in which the lottery occurred.
Mary Fay is seeking re-election to the West Hartford Town Council. She is a financial services senior executive. She has held several senior business leadership roles, including Senior Vice President and General Manager of Sun Life Financial, where she served on Sun Life boards. Mary has also been Senior Vice President of GE Capital and Senior Vice President of ING. She is a frequent volunteer at Morley School and was named a top woman in business by Hartford Business Journal. Mary was an inaugural member of West Hartford's First Parent Leadership Training Institute, where she was elected class speaker at the statewide graduation at the Capitol. Mary has a 9-year-old daughter, Katie.
Thank you for being here, Mary. Next is Lee Gold. He resides in the town of West Hartford and has been here since 1997. He is married to Monica Gold and has 2 school-aged boys, Jack and Adam. A long life Connecticut resident, he attended Kingswood Oxford School and matriculated to Lehigh University in Pennsylvania, earning a bachelor's degree in history and membership in Phi Beta Kappa. He attended the University of Connecticut Law School, during which time he served as a legal intern for the State Attorney General's office in Norwich and New London. In 1997, Lee joined Butler, Norris, and Gold in Hartford, Connecticut, and has continued to practice law there as a partner. Lee presently serves on the Kingswood Oxford Head Advisory Council. He is also very active in West Hartford Little League, where he has been a coach for over 7 years. He has been on the board of directors as vice president for Tumblebrook Country Club and was the president of Talcott Glen Condominium Association. Lee is active in a number of bar associations, including the Connecticut Bar Association and the Hartford County Bar Association. He also served as a member of the Board of Trustees for Emmanuel Synagogue. Thank you for being here, Lee. Next, we have Shari Cantor. Shari is the current mayor of her hometown of West Hartford. She graduated from the University of Connecticut with an accounting degree and worked in public and private accounting for PwC and Cigna. She has served as mayor since 2016, deputy mayor from 2011, and on the town council since 2004. She is a registered CPA. Shari is the mother of 4 sons and a daughter-in-law. She and her husband Michael have been married for 34 years. She is a Yukon trustee and serves on the boards of Connecticut Children's Medical Center, Food Share, West Hartford Art League, and American School for the Deaf. She also has volunteered with Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford and the Hartford Symphony Orchestra. She is a West Hartford Rotarian. She has been inducted into the Yukon Business Hall of Fame in 2017 during her service as mayor and honored as the Malta House of Cares Foundation Woman of the Year in 2016. Thank you for being here, Shari. Our next candidate is Rick Bush. He is a lifelong Connecticut resident and has lived in West Hartford for the last 25 years. He is married and has 4 children who are current or former students in West Hartford Public Schools. He is a graduate of UConn with a Bachelor's of Arts degree with a double major in English and political theory, English literature and political theory. He is a self-employed business person in real estate, construction, and property management. His business is based here in West Hartford. Rick has his real estate broker and community association manager's licenses. He is a board member and the treasurer of the Connecticut Coalition of Property Owners, and also the president of the Connecticut Association of Real Estate Investors. Rick is a former member of UConn's basketball team under Jim Calhoun, and he has been a volunteer basketball coach in West Hartford for 9 years. Thank you for joining us, Rick. Carole Anderson Blanks is married to Charles Blanks. They have 3 adult daughters who graduated from Cantor High School. One of them now attends Morgan State University and Quinnipiac. They have resided in West Hartford since 1996. Carole is employed with the Connecticut Department of Public Health and has been there since 1988. She has been the Public Health Services Manager for the Contracts Management section. She's a former director for the Breast and Cervical Cancer Early Detection Program, a cancer screening program for low-income, uninsured, and underinsured women between the ages of 21 and 64. She's a former member of 1199 Union and a former union delegate. She earned a master's in public administration in 1994 from the University of Hartford and a bachelor's of science in health administration from Mount St. Mary College in 1984. She's a proud member of the West Hartford Democratic Town Committee since 1997. She has volunteered in former Congressman Christopher Dodd's presidential campaign and former Governor Daniel Lloyd's campaign, as well as state and municipal campaigns for town leaders. She was the chairwoman of the West Hartford Board of Education, currently I think, and a Prep Council board member. She's a former member of the Connecticut Cancer Partnership, former member of the Connecticut Martin Luther King Holiday Commission, past member of PTOs at the high school, at Cantor High School, Sedgwick Middle, and Smith. She's also coached for basketball. Thank you for being here, Carole. And last but not least, we have Ben Wenograd. He was raised in West Hartford, attending Delphi, Sedgwick, and Cantor, and then went on to Wesleyan and Northeastern University School of Law. His mother, Marlene, lives in town. And I might add, she's a member of the League of Women Voters. He is married to Shannon. They have a daughter, Sasha. She graduated in 2018 from Cantor High School and is currently in college. He is completing his 2nd term on Town Council, where he has chaired the Community Planning and Physical Services Committee. Ben is a lifelong activist who has fought for GLBTQ rights. worked to protect women's health clinics, and spoken out in opposition to Trump's anti-immigrant policies. He has spent his professional life working for labor unions, including his current employer, the American Federation of Teachers. Again, thank you, Ben, for being here, and to all of you. So this evening we will have a couple of questions prepared by the League of Women Voters, and then the questions from the audience will be brought to the moderator, and I will proceed with them. And it's possible I might use another question from the League's question if needed. And if you have any further questions that you would like to bring to the moderator, to the screener, you can just raise your hand, and thank you. You can bring it over there, and we also have one of our members in the audience who can pick some up too. The Sweetec will help you. All right, so our first question is missing. So sorry. It should be here. Thank you. I promise I remember it anyway. For our first question, I'd like to pose to Mary Fay, who is number one. Tell us what would be your position on establishing a policy for affordable housing in West Hartford. That is an actual policy that would be stated. So, Mary, you go first.
All right, can you hear me? Good. First of all, I'd like to mention a couple of things. I didn't realize I was told to do the shorter version of my bio. So I'd just like to mention that I went to Skidmore College. I have a graduate degree from RPI. I'm on the board of the Newton Moseley Hospital. I played basketball and softball in college, Rick. We'll have to go one-on-one. And I'm on the committee for the Yearling Stanford Irish Parade every year. I'm really proud of what we did at the last council meeting across party lines to approve the housing renovation over by the senior center. So I think that was an incredible effort, and I think it came across unanimously, and I think it's the right thing to do. We're also significantly increasing the size of that complex, so people will be able to live in beautiful new housing, larger than the ones that they're in, and we're going to increase that development by 100 units. We have to do more. We are doing more with rentals. A lot of those are allocated for veterans or for lower income folks. I think that will continue our diversity path. But the biggest thing we can do is stem tax increases. Tax increases, which have doubled over about 12 years, are causing seniors to leave, move out of town. And if you look at the real estate values now, which I know we've got realtors in our audience, they're either flat, houses are not appreciating, or they're down, and rents are going down. I just spoke with somebody before this session, in fact, and she is a significant landlord in town and other places, and she's told me that she's getting the biggest hit in West Hartford. So making things affordable, we gotta stick with our current homeowners first, and our businesses. The businesses downtown and in the center and Blueback are in net triple leases, and that's why you're seeing a lot of vacancies. So again, keep on improving what we're doing for rentals and seniors and other folks who need help. But we've got to address the people who are already here, and we've got to lower their property taxes. There's no reason that we're at the clip that we're at. 39 municipalities were able to keep taxes flat last budget, and we asked for the same thing. So that's what my recommendation.
Thank you, Mary. Next, legal. If you would like to answer that question, you may.
I'd be happy to. First, I do want to thank League of Voters of Greater Hartford for organizing this event. Carole, thank you for being our mediator and being our point person in coordinating this forum. And Fellow candidates, thank you. Most importantly, thank you to the residents of West Hartford to being part of this event. And I'm truly excited to be part of this process. Affordable housing is a staple of our town, something that is very important, dear to me. I've been to a few locations, specifically at the Alfred E. Platt building, which deals with affordable housing. It's a very important aspect of our town to maintain the population here in town. We need to address the budget so that there's fixed income. The people in affordable housing need to have the ability to stay in town and not move out. That's one of the things that is important to me, to make sure that our population is maintained. And to do that, again, it's a matter of reducing the property taxes in town. We've had an increase in our budget over the past 15 or so years of about $150 million. Our property taxes alone have increased by approximately 25% over the last 5 years. These are very important items to address. It will help to maintain our population and hopefully grow our population. I think the affordable housing complex that is being built behind Starker Road is very important and continues with this development.
Shari, would you care to say and add anything?
First, I want to thank Charter Oak School for Charter Oak International Academy for hosting us, the League of Women Voters, and Carole for hosting us, and all of the candidates that are up here. We volunteered, so this is really a commitment that we all make and our families make to serving for West Hartford. There's so much I could say, but right now I do want to say that we do have a West Hartford Housing Authority that does work as that is the designated affordable housing initiative that we have in town, and we work with them. West Hartford has 7% of our housing stock is statutory affordable. We have adopted codes, actually our zoning, to promote density bonuses for people that offer affordable housing. We review it periodically, and there's definitely more that we can do. Budget issues I will address later.
Thank you. Mr. Bush.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much, Carole, for having us here at League of Women Voters. This is an extremely exciting day for me and taking part in the democratic process. We talk about if you don't like the way things are going, you got to stand up and do something about it. So that's kind of why I'm here. Affordable housing is a key component to any town. I am a landlord, part-time property manager. I deal with people who can't afford to pay their rent often, and the town of West Hartford, through the West Hartford Housing Authority, has done a great job of trying to provide housing for low-income people. There's a bunch of issues that currently exist through HUD, which regulates the amount of money that landlords can charge, which keeps rents low. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that are causing the rent for the low-income people to increase. And as both Lee and Mary said, taxes have been going up. The water bills for all the properties have gone up considerably over the last few years. So maintaining affordable housing in our town needs to be a concerted effort through some legislation that we pass as a town to make sure that the taxes don't continue to increase, that the water bills stay low, and that landlords are able to provide affordable housing for their tenants.
Thank you. Ms. Wenograd. I did skip you. I already checked your name. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, I'll let you slide, Carole. Thank you, Carole, and the League of Women Voters for providing this forum. My recommendation would be for affordable housing in town is what the current council is doing is very good. And I would say let's expand on that. There's a number of vacant spaces that are being turned into affordable housing. I'm sure many of you have seen that around town. However, I think much more needs to be done. Especially we attract great teachers from all over the country. However, we know that those teachers in our school systems can't afford to live, many of them can't afford to live in town. Therefore, I think that we should look at some type of programs or work with our town officials in terms of either setting up some type of program where our educators can afford rent until they're able to buy homes, or look at what can be made affordable. For instance, I know many of you have seen the condos that's going up on Ringo. Those are affordable. We have other projects in town that's affordable and attractive. My recommendation is let's continue to do that, but let's look at it with a wider lens and make sure that we can attract all families, not just low income, but our seniors as well, other families that are moving into town from all over the world and not just our country.
Thank you, Ben.
And thank you, and again, of course, thank you to the league, and thank you for all of you for coming out tonight. We're volunteers, but you're not getting paid to come either, and we appreciate you observing and participating, hearing your questions. I'm really gratified, actually, to hear everybody supporting the concept of affordable housing in town. I remember when we had controversies in town, Flag Road, Grace Road, both had big fights in town. It was divisive. And on both those cases, I think once I was in high school and once a little bit before then, came out and testified in support of those really valuable projects. And again, I'd like to think that similar efforts today would not have that kind of opposition. We've really grown as a town, and I'm proud of it. One thing Shari mentioned that I think deserves more attention is the density bonus. This is the first time that we added an affordable housing incentive for development in commercial areas. It allows, if there is a building there, to have extra space, basically extra density, floors or such, if there is affordable housing up to, I think, a 15%. Again, it's the first time we've actually put into an ordinance that promotion of affordable housing. There's more we can do. I'm excited, of course, by the new senior project, by the new park project, and hopefully more in the new park corridor. I think we can take advantage of the busway and other transit-oriented development. In the long run, the way we're going to get better and more affordable housing is through growth. We need to increase the stock of apartments. It's really a market-based approach. And that will do not only increase the supply of housing, but also make sure we don't endanger the existing affordable housing we have. The apartments right now that are relatively affordable need to protect those and not have sort of tear downs and sort of a gentrification of some of our areas where we have multifamily homes right now. So I'm very hopeful. I think we're in the right direction, and we certainly, the town is changing. It's changing for the better.
Thank you very much. And for the second question, we will be starting with Lee Gold. The question came in asking specifically about the Yukon property, which the council members are not allowed to address directly because of advice from Corporation Council, as I seem to recall. But I'm going to make it a little more general because there are other properties where similar things might happen. So we're just talking from a policy perspective, not a specific properties in this case. So basically, what does the town council and you as an individual do to make sure that new transactions for any kind of development in town go swiftly, smoothly, and legally? And that goes to Mr. Gold first.
Thank you. So I'm all for business. I think business in town is very important. Attracting business into town is one of the things that we need to look to do and maintain and keep businesses in town. We've seen, and I think there's a lot of optimism for this. I think there are certain properties, on Trout Brook specifically, that can be to our benefit and will help to attract corporate jobs. It will
bring in more entrepreneurs, it will bring in more innovation, and with those concepts, we can bring in more revenues into the town. Venture capitalists would come in, there can be startups, there can be a lot more activity in our town to attract this innovation and incubate these types of concepts. When we do that, the grant list can increase, and once the grant list increases, we can look to our residential property taxes and have that decreased with business grant list growth. I think we need to examine all areas of the town, from the center to Bishop's Corner, to Elmwood, to Park Road. There's a lot of opportunity in town to develop, and I think obviously streamlining and making these developments be at the forefront of our design of modernization of the town would be very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you. So next would be Ms. Cantor.
Thank you. I first want to say we need to take stock of where West Hartford is. From Bishop's Corner to Corbin's Corner, our occupancy rates are very, very high. Our vacancy rates are very low. The average in Connecticut is much higher than where it is in West Hartford. We have very vibrant centers, again, from north to the south of property. Economic development is critical to the way the town works. If our West Hartford has 89% of our revenue comes from property taxes. Of that, 72% are residential property taxes. So much of the budget does fall on our residents. We have to grow the diversity of our tax base. So promoting and helping to support business development is really critical. I have been at many of these ribbon cuttings. We have welcomed 90 new businesses over the last 18 months. If you talk to our economic development department, they say the biggest problem is we don't have land for many of these buildings. Redevelopment will help us to kind of turn over some aging properties. But we've done some critical forward-thinking things, and there's more to do. Zoning changes, especially in the New Park, New Britain area, where we have provided parking changes, zoning changes to allow for brewery, residential, food trucks, gastroparks. We invest in our streetscapes infrastructure on the transportation-oriented areas of town. There's a lot of potential there for redevelopment, but all of our town is really ripe for redevelopment. We've done great things. We actually really do have low vacancy and high occupancy. And although I believe Connecticut's best days are ahead, when you compare us with other municipalities, we are doing far beyond what other municipalities around us have done.
Thank you. Mr. Bush?
I'm definitely pro-economic development. I believe that there's a lot of room for West Hartford to grow. We've grown a lot. Since I've been here, West Hartford Center, there was one restaurant in West Hartford Center when I moved here. So definitely it's a much better town over the last 25 years. Development increases the grant list, which would hopefully lower taxes. It certainly increases the tax base to cover additional costs as they come up. West Hartford is a leader in Connecticut. We're one of the most robust towns. We're certainly one of the leaders in Hartford County. We have a great town center, vibrant population. There's always room for more housing. We should definitely incentivize development with maybe some tax breaks to encourage more businesses to come to town. It would increase jobs. One of the things that I think we should continue to do is to try to bring businesses into town, which would allow the tax base to increase. Also through special development districts, I know that I've looked into development in West Hartford, and the zoning department and the town council is, I think, very positive towards what they call special development districts, where you put a plan together with an architect and they'll approve a nice new zoning, especially just for that development. So there's a lot of ways that we can increase development. I'm very pro-development. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blanks?
Thank you for the question. West Hartford is a great town. And I believe that we have a number of vacant spaces, we have a number of vacant older buildings in town that could be refurbished and we can attract more businesses to this town, especially along the New Park Avenue corridor, as Mayor has stated. This would be a prime area for real estate development. It's close to the fast track, it's close to the highway. It would provide much needed jobs for members of our community. We can create, through this new development, walking spaces so folks can walk or ride their bikes to work, cut down on the number of cars that are traveling on our roads and highways, cut down on emission. This is a prime time to capitalize on vacant spaces around town. We can attract businesses to our town that also would partner with our school district in terms of either high school part-timers. Once those students graduate from high school and go on to college and graduate from college, that would be a great opportunity for those students to work at these particular businesses that we attract to town. So the opportunities are endless, and right now would be the prime time to get in on the floor level and run with these particular ideas.
Thank you. Mr. Wenograd.
Thank you. So when we talk about new development, one thing I think we have to realize is that West Hartford, our West Hartford, is the economic engine of the entire Hartford region. When businesses are thinking about coming to the region, yes, they're looking at land in various places, but they're probably going to, at least their executives are going to be living in West Hartford. We are the attraction. Our downtown, of course, is amazing. We need to maintain what we've provided already. High quality, like fantastic schools, parks, libraries, senior centers. I mean, what we've got right now is exactly the attraction for the Hartford area. And so as we, clearly we need new businesses. We need businesses to come in to create jobs, to create absolutely property taxes. That's wonderful. I'm not a big fan of tax breaks. We certainly haven't had to do it yet. And we've been attracting businesses without that sort of cycle of trying to raid other towns with the tax breaks. We haven't had to do it yet. I'm glad we haven't. What is continuing is again the attraction. One thing that we just saw in the paper today is that our property values we are one of only 10 towns in the state of Connecticut that maintain property values since regained property values since the big crash in 2008. In fact, even better than that, of those 10, there were 10 last year, only 3 are on both lists. In other words, we retained our value, we got our value back in 2017, and kept it for 2018. We're doing the right stuff. We are the town people want to be in, and that will be the biggest way for us to attract new development.
Ms. Faye, and then Reba after that.
Okay, thank you. Not surprisingly, I see things a little bit differently. I think, first of all, before you can develop West Hartford more, get businesses to come here, you got to leap over that huge hurdle that's called Connecticut. So I don't really see people knocking down our doors trying to come here, unfortunately. Again, I'm not, Debbie Downer, but we got a lot of things that we got to fix. So in terms of a general philosophy, I would say, let's exploit the enterprise zones and let's really try to get things cooking where there's incentives to come in and do more. I'd like to say we want to preserve our residential areas as much as we can as possible. And more than anything, I probably love business and growth. And it's tough when we've got very limited space available still in West Hartford. So it's going to be redevelopment. It's going to be looking at the New Park corridor, the Britain Avenue, parts in the Main Street, et cetera, and redeveloping those. We need to get our grand list to be more than anemic growing. It's got to start growing exponentially. And I think we're going to face some from headwinds, quite frankly. If we head into a recession and our property values, we said maintain, that means flat, they'll increase, then our grand list is susceptible. So that's what my concerns are.
Thank you. Reba? Mr. Bush?
Thanks. I'd like to rebut then, first of all, property values absolutely have not come back. Absolutely have not. If you have a $200,000 house, you're probably okay, but a lot of the higher value properties haven't come back. Multifamily properties and investment properties absolutely are going crazy. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of jobs have left Connecticut, so it's not a West Hartford problem. It is a Connecticut problem, as Mary said. West Hartford just happens to be one of the towns that's going to suffer from it as our higher-end properties lose values and don't resell and have to reset to lower values in order for people to come in to find them attractive so that they'll buy them. It's going to put a higher tax burden on the lower property values. So absolutely, I disagree that the properties have come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Our next question goes to Cantor first. What are your plans for fixing the broken infrastructure of the town roads? And in that question, we were asked to also consider noise ordinances that apply to motorcycles with illegal mufflers as well as automobiles with defective. So we have two parts to that question.
All right. Yeah.
Broken infrastructure and then vehicles that travel on those roads.
West Hartford has always invested in our infrastructure. I think we had a very short period of time after the recession that we went on hold. But since I've been involved in the council, Karen has every year, we're a AAA bond-rated community. That means we are one of the highest ranked community financially throughout the country. And we always borrow and invest in infrastructure. That infrastructure includes schools, it includes roads, it includes bridges. We also procure grants from the state to help us and assist us. This building, a lot of this came from a state grant. But we are committed to infrastructure, and we invest in about 7 miles of roads per year. Road construction is complicated. You have to coordinate with utilities, including the MDC, and I'm sure Mr. Bush will be expanding on that a little bit more. But it is complicated. We have to time it so that we don't do a road and then it gets dug up by a utility needing a new pipe, a new sewer. So we are committed to improving our roads, but it has to be in a way that tax dollars are spent efficiently and effectively. As far as noise ordinances go, with that is actually a health department noise ordinances, believe it or not, and we actually have ongoing discussions about noise ordinances. I don't think this is a really common problem. I will say the biggest problem that I hear about from our roads is speeding, as cars traveling too fast. We invest in a very committed public safety force, and our police do control speeds. Many communities don't. So we have strong speed enforcement, and we couple that with technology. I'm sure you've seen the happy faces when you're going the right speed limit, or the solar-powered happy faces, and then the slow down if you're not. Those are really critical to helping us control speed. So public safety is a very critical component.
Thank you. Mr. Bush?
So this is sort of a bigger question when it comes to the roads. I think more importantly is what's going on underneath the roads. And as Mayor Cantor mentioned, I do know quite a bit about the sewer system. I'm not going to get into that. I don't have enough time left on the clock. There's going to be an hour-long meeting after if anyone wants to join me. So the roads certainly have some issues, and I think we need to have a coordinated approach to repairing the roads, but also fixing the infrastructure under the roads. There's a massive unfunded sewer mandate that's going to need to come. It's going to be facing everybody, and I drive around all day. My job is I drive around, and there are some roads that are not great. And I know that we've spent a lot of money on curbs and other sorts of things, and I know that we're working towards it, but it's a big problem, and that's really the main reason why I'm here. And it's really too much to get into, but it's a huge topic for me, and it's something that I work very, very hard to fix, very hard. As far as noise, I have no comment, and that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Blunt?
Thank you for the question. And I concur. The street that I live on, we've been trying to get that road fixed for the past 3 years. We're on the color brown, and we just can't seem to make it to the color red. However, I do believe that with our infrastructure, that would require some partnership with our state officials, and perhaps we can explore the area of perhaps receiving additional funding to help the town fix our particular roads, our overpasses, and what type of materials are being used, right? So we have our winter months coming up, and we know as soon as perhaps our roads are fixed, then we're laying down material to de-ice our roads and snow. So it can be a two-pronged approach. But I do believe that if we work in partnership with our state officials, we could come up with a solution that would be applicable to everyone involved.
Thank you, Mr. Wenograd.
Thanks. I don't have a whole lot to add, except that Rick, the idea of a 1 hour discussion afterwards on sewers actually interests me. It says something about the type of people who choose to serve on town council. I will say, obviously, the expense of the roads is high. We're in New England, and it's part of balancing of how much can we pay, how much can we spend on roads, while trying to, of course, keep taxes as low as possible. One fact I learned a couple years ago was the granite curbs that lots of people dislike. They look kind of expensive and they're sharp, and if you hit them, you pop your tire. And, I lost one myself. They actually not only last a long time, which is actually very economical, they actually hold the road together better because they're hard. So they actually make the roads last longer. So even though those seem, as an extravagance, it's actually good fiscal policy to spend the money on those curbs. So that's one of the things, the types of things West Hartford does, sometimes invisibly, to save money and to really invest for the long term.
Thank you. Ms. Fay. Whoops.
Thank you very much. Probably one of the top complaints that I get through emails or on the phone are the conditions of our roads, the potholes, the people's damage to their cars that they suffer, and that's the first thing you see when you come into town is the condition of our roads. It's something that impacts everybody. So I think it's really clearly a matter of priorities, and we have to decide where we're going to spend our money. I think we do need to spend more on roads, and I appreciate that we do pave 7 miles or so a year. But that's about half of what we used to do not that long ago. So you can see the difference, and I think people are feeling that. So I think it's really a matter of priorities. If you look at the budget line item, which we go over every year, we've got salaries at X amount of dollars, and our benefits are equal to that, which is 100%. You can't run a business that way. Your benefits shouldn't be more than 30-35%, and they're going lower because of volunteering contributions and things like that. We got to change the way we address things and work. We got to prioritize where the money's going, and we've got to benefit everybody. We've got to be fair to everybody. So I think roads is something that would benefit everybody. We've got to make them better.
Thank you. Mr. Gold.
Thank you, and I agree that we do have to prioritize. What I've learned is that there's about 217 miles of roadway in the town of West Hartford. It'll take us many states down the coast. There's approximately 29% of the roads are poor, rated as poor. They need to be addressed, and I think if I'm involved, roads will be a priority of mine. I've knocked on many doors. There's some people have indicated that the road hasn't been actually repaved or redone in 40 years. That's not acceptable, and we need to speed up this process. According to the budget, there was 8.8 miles of road done on an estimate that needed to have 10 miles. So we're behind schedule, and these are things that need to be addressed immediately, prioritized appropriately, and deal with each department in town to address and deal with the financial burdens there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? The next question goes to Mr. Bush, and this taps on, this is a question that the league had too regarding becoming an energy self-sufficient community. What would your position be on that? But we have a couple of things from our audience mentioning that $50 million was rated from the Conservation Management Fund, local management fund. which is critical in helping low and moderate income households reduce energy consumption, thus making energy more affordable. And to go along with that, someone else raised the issue of the young woman that is going around the world, Greta Thunberg, questioning what we are going to do about climate catastrophe. So taking all of those things into consideration, everyone is worried about climate change, about energy consumption, and what is the best way for us to preserve all of that. How would you respond to Ms. Thunberg or to the person in town that's concerned about the rating of a fund that helps those with lower incomes to have energy more affordable? Mr. Bush is first.
Wow.
Yes.
Thanks for that question.
I'm challenging you.
Yeah. So West Hartford actually does quite a bit to address self-sufficiency and conservation. We've actually achieved a certification as a sustainable Connecticut community, and so I think that we should really build on the success of that by offering some economic development opportunities that focus on making our community more sustainable, by offering incentives to homeowners and businesses. Certainly that would be a good start. I thought Greta did a fantastic job of calling people to task at working towards global climate change. Certainly, I am very cognizant of it. I read the news about it all the time. I'm very, very focused on it. West Hartford is a leader. If we could, use the clout that we have throughout the state of Connecticut to put forward some joint documents that this said that we're going to be taking certain steps. What those steps are, I don't focus on exactly those types of steps at this point, but as far as the Conservation Management Fund and helping low-income people, there is an enormous amount of money available to low-income people through the Clean Energy Fund and through Eversource. So I work with them all the time. Heating system upgrades, replacement windows, insulation. So there's a significant amount of funding available through many different sources to help low-income people to conserve energy. It's a really well-funded program. In fact, you all pay a little bit of it on your energy bill every month. So it's out there. There's help out there. It's available. And West Hartford is a leader. So I think that we just continue doing what we're doing, and like I said, try to incentivize more small businesses and homeowners to maybe go solar or do other things that would help.
Ms. Blanks.
Another question. Yes, this is a very important issue that we all must face, and I do know on the district side that we've done a number of initiatives around Going Green projects. We have installed LED lighting. We outfitted various schools around town. There's about 18% energy savings that we have instituted in our town buildings. And of course, there's much more that we can do. We can take lessons learned from our students in many of our elementary schools who are implementing recycling and just learning various things in the classroom that have come before the board with different presentations. So I think it's up to all of us to institute and initiate different projects to save our earth. Otherwise, going into the future, we're all going to be in trouble. So the best thing that we can begin to do is to start now and look at various ways of energy savings.
Mr. Wenograd.
Thank you. Yes, climate change is real. Climate change is a moral imperative that we do everything we can to address it. Certainly, some of the things already mentioned. We've been adding solar. We've had great facilities for electric cars. We certainly want to encourage people to get out and bike more, bike and walk, using zoning to make more dense areas. We talk about the walkability score. If you live in a place where you can walk to a business, where you live in a place where you can catch a bus or get on or a busway or a train, you're going to use the cars less. We need to encourage that, certainly, on whatever policy we can help that development, to get transit-oriented development, we have people living on Newport who can get to work without a car. We're doing a good bit for the solution. In town, we've reduced the amount of lighting, the cost of lighting by replacing bulbs on street lights. Again, the schools have done a fantastic job. So we're certainly working in the right direction. It is not enough. We need to keep going.
Thank you. Ms. Faye.
Thank you, Carol. I think everybody is concerned about the environment. I don't think there's a person who isn't. And I'm not here to debate whether climate change, which has been around since the beginning of time, is man-made or not. So I think there's things that we can do, and I think there's things that we should do. So one thing I'd like to make a point of, though, that I think is important that people lose sight of in this argument is that the United States has never been better positioned in terms of energy than it is right now. We have unbelievable oil reserves, we have unbelievable natural gas reserves, and we're making progress in all of the other environmental friendly endeavors that we can. So whether it's solar, or whether it's geothermal, or whether it's name another technology that I'm probably not even, the fuel cells, the cars, we're doing it. And I think we need to keep on that, but we gotta be careful, that we don't penalize people for some behaviors that have been going on also for a long time. We have to get better at the environment, we have to be cleaner, we have to have cleaner energy, we need to take care of our garbage. There's a whole bunch of things we need to do better. But I think one thing that would be really good is that as we improve the infrastructure within town, and I know my college did this, is replace the current heating systems with geothermal. They're very inexpensive to run, they're very clean, they don't pollute the environment, and they're just terrific overall, and I'd like to see that happen in West Hartford.
Thank you. Mr. Gold.
Thank you. Climate change, the planet, it's where we live. We can't just move to Mars, maybe about 50 years, but that's not on the near horizon. It's a collective effort to help. We need to protect what's here. We need to, well, my choices would be probably solar, wind. Those are a couple of items. Green roofs would be important. I think the town is implementing within our infrastructure, changing over boilers, furnaces, things of that nature in the schools, the government buildings. These are all important things to help our environment. The look of West Hartford, if we were to go to solar, would certainly change. There would be obviously large-scale devices that would look to harness these and store this energy. I know that West Hartford has solar farms that we draw from, and that's one way of managing and dealing with the climate change, and have alternate sources of fuel. These types of items and structures that go into and potentially look to go into West Hartford would certainly change the landscape that we're dealing with, of what the town actually looks for. The decision to go and put solar panels on buildings, into park areas and things of that nature, I think should be something left to the town to decide, rather than exclusively by the town council, by a public referendum perhaps. I think that's important for the entire town to decide collectively, as this is an important topic for the entire world.
Thank you. Ms. Cantor.
Thank you. We were one of the first towns that had a part-time, hired a part-time energy specialist that saved us about 20%, reduced energy use about 20%. We have a facility management plan that was implemented, so there's remote controls in all of our buildings. This building is geothermal. We have 12 sites that have solar now. We have 2 being added right now on Town Hall and 1 at KP coming. We have changed almost all of our streetlights from LED. We are working on inside that will create further reduction. And right now, we are Sustainable Connecticut. We were one of the first communities in the state to become Sustainable Connecticut Bronze. We're actually been announcing a grant opportunity for nonprofits for a green source. We do virtual metering purchases from Thompson, Connecticut that has a solar farm. And we also have we will be in 2019 100% purchased from renewable credits. So we've done a lot. There's always more to do, and we'll have to work with our residents for some good options. Energy Plan will be coming out with a more detailed plan for residents as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mr. Wenograd, Dr. Overbuck. You need a microphone, Mr. Wenograd. Sorry about that.
We haven't done any of this yet, but I do need to repeat. The science is absolutely clear. I don't see how you can be a part of the solution to the problem of global warming if you don't accept that it is in fact caused by humans. That is the consensus of all scientific experts. The disagreement with it is purely partisan, unfortunately. But it should not be a partisan issue. It should be a science issue. Again, climate change caused by humans is real and dangerous.
Thank you. We have another one. Thank you.
I appreciate everybody's differences, and that's why I said I wasn't here to debate it. I just want to make a point that there are differences in opinion, and there are science that says that it's not created by humans. So I think it's important to be open-minded about this. And having said all that, Ben, what you heard from what I said, the majority was that we should do things that help our planet and our environment. I mentioned solar, I mentioned geothermal, I mentioned being more mindful of our garbage and our waste and our packaging. And I certainly do mean that, but I think there's two schools of thought on this, and we should respect both. We shouldn't be so intolerant to another point of view.
Thank you. At this time, we have time for a couple more questions, and I know that the timers are probably getting very close to the end. So I'm going to ask each of you to be able to add 1 minute, because we have enough time because of our, shall we say, jumpy start with the microphones and all. So we're going to add a minute to everyone's time to ask a couple more questions. This question goes first to Ms. Blank. Tonight we're here at Carole School, and 40% or more of the students are Latino or from other cultures in the world. Do you plan to reach out to them? Are they important to you? And if so, what plans do you have for reaching out to this multicultural community in West Hartford?
Thank you for the question, of course. In fact, I consider myself a Charter Oak family. My older daughter attended this school when we initially moved to town back in 1996. And this school is a prime example of what we call diversity. This school is known for bringing families together of all different types of background. In fact, we have over 2,000 families that speak 72 different languages in our town. And this school is an example of welcoming and inviting in a town that really cares. There's many students and many families that I see interact without any problems, any differences whatsoever. It's interesting because when our children are in kindergarten, our children only see human beings. They do not see color, they do not see ethnicity. They just see each other, and they're welcoming and they're loving, and all they want to do is assist and help. And I think many of us as adults, we can take some lessons learned from our students.
Thank you. Mr. Wenograd.
Thank you. My daughter also went here. We graduated there, actually not here, but the old Charter Oak. And actually, when I got elected, even though I had nothing to do as a council member of getting this beautiful building built, apparently because I was in office when it opened, I got my name on the plaque out front, which is one of the best perks I've ever gotten for being on council. Absolutely. I mean, the diversity of West Hartford is our greatest strength. And it's also really a message to the country, the state and the nation, which is having this debate about whether diversity is a good thing. Those who oppose it are wrong. And if that sounds intolerant, then I apologize, but they're wrong. We are a country of immigrants, and West Hartford is a town of immigrants, both recent and generational. I can't even express how proud I am of this, not just this school, but in particular this school. as Carole said, we loved going here. It was a wonderful experience. And it really is a symbol for West Hartford. Yes, we need outreach. Yes, we've added staff at our libraries with great service for second language. And even more so, when I've been door knocking, and even neighborhoods that used to be pretty homogenous have changed, and they've changed for the better. It's just such a joy walking around town and seeing the diversity we have here, and I treasure it.
Thank you. Ms. Fay?
Of course, it's about my answer. Of course it's important. All people are important. Everybody's important, and everybody should be valued. Diversity is fantastic. Look, I grew up in East Hartford. I think we kind of led the diversity effort. I had kids of all different kinds of things starting in grammar school, of all different kind of ethnicities and makeups and backgrounds. My parents have lived there for over 60 years, and their neighborhood has changed significantly, and for the better. My mom would have been the first one, and my dad, to tell you that they love their new neighbors, which are every creed and every race that you can possibly imagine. In fact, a Puerto Rican couple moved in down the street. My dad actually helped raise the boy because the father had left the home shortly thereafter, and they're still good buddies. So I think it's important. I think it's critical. I do know children already model that behavior. My daughter Katie is here in the audience. She goes to Morley, and they're taught that. And it's unfortunate they have to be taught that. I don't think the kids really do. I think it's more the grown-ups that do. But of course, it's important. It's important to respect everybody, to value everybody, and to listen to everybody. So that's my pledge to be your next counselor.
Thank you. Mr. Gold?
Thank you. Diversity is key in West Hartford. I learned this on my first time through walking and knocking on doors in the Aiken School District. I was shocked at how uniquely diverse our town is, and it's an amazing thing. My children went to Aiken School. The curriculum there was over-inclusive of all races, nationalities, and the curriculum taught children how to be involved with people, and on a one-to-one basis, on a two-to-one in groups, they welcomed anybody, and I enjoyed that educational process. This school is a beacon of diversity. It's a great. It's actually the first time I've been in this room, and it's a beautiful building. I watched it be built as my boys were playing football right in the fields over just behind us. But in addition to this environment and diversity, the West Hartford Center itself promotes diversity through the center. I think having more of a pedestrian-friendly town center would help the community come together even more. I think if we were to look at more opportunities to make pedestrian-only streets and roads in West Hartford Center, the community could come together and enjoy open dialogue, open discussion, and promote all the facets and aspects that this town has to offer.
Thank you. Ms. Cantor?
We're so proud of Charter Oak, and this was an effort that took the state's commitment as well as the town. The state actually committed $36 million to this building. We could not have done that to attract, again, students from all across town and this beautiful, diverse space. Juan Milian, who's the principal, you walk in, the smile ear to ear, the respect for every student. It is what West Hartford is all about. This is our flagship school now. We are so proud of the schools, and what West Hartford has done is make this a priority for our future, and the future not only of West Hartford, the state of Connecticut, and probably our country, many leaders that will come out of West Hartford. We have 22% non-English at home, as Carole said, 74 languages spoken, 26% free and reduced lunch, 43% minority. Only town in the state with 2 gold medal schools, and only one in the country with less than 1 million population, both ranked in the top 3%. We are compared with Greenwich, Darien, Staples, New Canaan, Glastonbury, Simsbury, Avon, and Farmington. None of them look the way we do. More AP exam taken by our students than any other town in the state of Connecticut. This does not happen by itself. This is a continued commitment by this town council with our Board of Education to be that premier school. And home values have remained, as is in the current article today, because median home prices, and there has been some fluidity, but median home prices have stayed one of the top in the state of Connecticut. So because of that, so I am really, really proud of that record.
Thank you. Mr. Bush.
So my youngest children go to Bugby, and they have an international night. And I think last year there were 72 different nationalities in Bugby School alone. It was beyond unbelievable to experience. I've sat through 2 moving up ceremonies between King Philip and Hall. And if you didn't know you were in Connecticut or West Hartford or the United States, you wouldn't know what country or town you were in. The diversity of the student population was absolutely fantastic. I think it prepares our children to be stewards of the world, to go out. It's going to give them a much better sense of who they are and where they fit into the world, and that we all are in this together, and that we work hard to become one community. West Hartford is an absolutely fantastic town, and the diversity is one of our most prized possessions that we all work. And I know that the accomplishments of the current town council to get these buildings built has just been absolutely fantastic. So I couldn't be happier to be a resident of this town and to experience the diversity firsthand.
Thank you very much. As I said, we have 2 questions to go. We are running short of time. I'm going to ask you to try to hold your answer to 30 seconds, but I'd like to ask this because it came up more than once, and I have so many really good questions that I can't ask. There was an independent study done on the fire department. So this question is, do you support the findings? You might edify the audience a little bit about what those findings were in 30 seconds. When it comes to what do you think about the independent study that was done for the fire department in West Hartford? And do you support those findings? This goes first to Ms. Flex. I'm sorry, Mr. Wenograd. I beg your pardon.
30 seconds. The study was an independent study to really guide us. What it suggested was that our current staffing levels for the fire department was appropriate. They warned against going any smaller to maintain our safety. I believe we're a fantastic fire department, and that the work we're doing should continue. As to the specific details of it, obviously, we have to look at the budget. But right now, it looks like our plans moving forward were approved by them, and that any cuts to the fire department would actually lead to some safety decreases, and I don't think we can do that.
Okay, Ms. Fay, your opinion on this study.
Thank you. First of all, public safety is probably the second most important thing for any town, including ours, next to education. So certainly I support our police officers and our firefighters wholeheartedly. It's just a very important item, and I think you take it for granted until your house burns down or until someone breaks into your home. And they're always great to have around when that happens. Now, having said that, I do respect both departments very, very much. But the study did point out to a couple of things that I think we could do better at. First of all, not even in the study, but we've taken on more fixed costs as we turned our firefighters into paramedics in addition, which I wasn't part of the debate whether that's a good thing or not. Certainly from a safety issue it is, but from a cost perspective it's not. And then one thing that the study did point out was we've got 5 firehouses in town, and over 90% come from 3 houses. So I think they kind of assumed status quo when they did the staffing model, that we require as much as we have on board. But, I do know about 6 Sigma and studied that, and there's probably some changes that we could do to reduce costs. But I do think firefighting and public safety is critical for our town.
Thank you. Mr. Gold.
Thank you. Listen, I want to save lives. I want to make, well, not me, but the fire department, our public safety, our first responders, we need to keep alive. We need to make sure that the fires don't get out of control. I think it's important for us to have a vibrant public safety department with the firefighters and the police officers as well. In terms of the
feasibility and the study dealing with the amount of firehouses. I think that needs to be something that we need to look at as the next budget cycle comes through to determine the viability of what our town actually needs.
Thank you. Ms. Cantor.
Thank you. So the study actually taught us a lot. It's the first time we had initiated a study, and that was asked by the town council to analyze our fire department so we can how we can improve the service and provide it at a better, but keep safety. Public safety is actually number one for any community, I think, the most important thing. But paramedic service, we're outsourcing paramedic service. Service has been better, and we've actually saved $402,000 3 years ago, $900,000 last year, and $650,000 in this budget.
Mr. Bush.
All right, so I did a lot of homework. I think since the last 6 weeks, I've done more homework for this election than I've done since college. But I did not read this fire department study. It eluded me. But let me just say a couple of things that I know that our service is fantastic. My mother-in-law had congestive heart failure. We called 911. We had a fire truck, an ambulance, and a police car in our driveway in like a minute and 3 seconds. It was unbelievable. They saved her life. So if I'm elected to town council, I certainly want to maintain that high level of standard. I do think that there may be some places to look to cut. I certainly would not want to diminish the standard of quality that we have because it's top notch.
Thank you. Ms. Blanks, the final word.
So thank you for the question. And I understand that based on the studies that our fire department is the appropriate size for the population of our town. And public safety is key. Many people move to this town because of public safety and the school system. And thank God we had that safety mechanism in place when many of our students were displaced in the fire that happened not too long ago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, the timers are asked to reset the clocks for 2 minutes. Each of our candidates will have an opportunity to say a final word to the audience about what they hope to, which each one of them hopes to accomplish as an elected official. I apologize to everyone in the audience that sent a question that I couldn't get to, but I hope we covered enough areas that you all have a good sense of who these candidates are. We will be going in the order of our lottery, and the order begins with Mary Fay, followed by Lee Gold, Shari Cantor, Rick Bush, Carole Blanks, and then Wenograd. So, Ms. Fay, you begin.
All right, thank you. It's been my honor and privilege to serve West Hartford, and it's really a special place. It has terrific schools that we talked about in town centers and parks and more. I'm not sure whether public safety is more important or schools. They're both on the top, so let's just call it a draw. But we can't rest on our laurels. You know, strong governance rests on a leader's values. Fairness and respect for all, independence, and grit were values I was brought up with. With these traits, you can and will achieve the American dream, no matter what that means for you. My family and I certainly worked extremely hard to achieve our dream. I'm concerned that West Hartford is at a tipping point. The town has so many positive traits, yet skyrocketing property taxes and rising rents impact the valued citizens and businesses that have made West Hartford what it is. Great, diverse, with a good school system, and a vibrant small business economy. Fairness with affordability for all is no longer the case. Seniors are leaving their lifelong homes because they can no longer afford to live here. Longtime businesses are folding up shop. Look at the empty buildings, storefronts, and for sale signs. They are all over town with property values dropping. And just wait for the recession, guys. It's not going to be pretty. Our property tax and spending has doubled in a little over a decade. What do we have to show for it? Road repaving has decreased by about 50%. We have huge potholes, yet taxes continue to go up. Leaf pickup, a valued service, is gone and never coming back. Instead, residents have to pay more in addition to paying higher taxes. Costs for recreation, sports leagues, the senior center, and other quality of life items keep going up despite huge tax increases. Where does the money go? Like the state, West Hartford spends a large amount of its budget on salaries, pensions, and health care. These benefits can't keep going, guys. They really can't. And the problem requires fairness for all. Many towns have kept taxes flat. We've requested West Hartford to do the same. Overseeing a $300 million budget is a big responsibility. Fairness to taxpayers requires a discipline. We need bold, fresh ideas. Being fiscally sound and working for social justice is not an either-or proposition. I'm committed to do both.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gold.
Thank you. It is the obligation of every official in government to promote both efficiency and economy in governmental services. We must balance carefully the needs for services against the burdens of taxation. There is not an unlimited ability to pay for expanding governmental services. Further, a town councilor must be a good listener, a personable diplomat, able to identify all sides of an issue and work well with everyone, and an efficient representative of the public I hope to serve. We can no longer pay for the inefficiency and high cost of our system's inefficiencies. I love our town. I want to continue to improve our town. I will work tirelessly to that end. I want my children, our grandchildren, to want to live here. I have hope for our town, I have hope for our present, and I have hope for our future together. Thank you for your time and attention. Please support me, Lee Gold, on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cantor.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for coordinating this debate, WHCI for covering, and all the candidates that are volunteering to serve. To you, the residents who are staying engaged, it is really important for you to participate in democracy in all elections, town, state, and nation. Thank you to my wonderful husband who's in the audience, 34 years, for your tremendous support. Local elections matter. When you cast your ballot on November 5th, just remember you're voting for the candidates who have a direct impact on your everyday life. West Hartford we are, because of you, ranked a top 50 community in the country and top in Connecticut. We have great schools, a strong local economy, responsible, professional, efficient, and effective local government. Our public schools in West Hartford are continually ranked among the best in the nation by U.S. News and World Report because of the commitment we've made. It attracts new families and benefits our whole community. Our centers are thriving. 90 new businesses over the past 18 months and low 97% occupancy in West Hartford Center. We are fiscally responsible, accountable, and transparent. We are a coveted AAA bond-rated community by both Moody's and Standard & Poor's. Most importantly, as mayor, I've made a commitment to be accessible and responsive to all of you, including having office hours all across town. I grew up in this community. I've had the pleasure of watching my 4 sons attend our public schools, participate in the many opportunities that this town offers. I'm humbled and grateful to serve this town. I know how much we have accomplished together, but I know there is progress to do over the next 2 years. I'm asking for your support and your vote on November 5th. We can continue to lead this wonderful community with honesty, respect, compassion, responsibility, and stability. Vote entire road A. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bush.
My name is Rick Bush. I'm a hard worker, I'm a good communicator, and I'm a problem solver. I drive around in my truck and I call it the Mobile Solutions Unit because I can fix anything with the tools in my truck. I understand the problems that face the town. I understand that we need to keep taxes low, we need to increase property values, and we need to repair our aging sewer system. This is a massive unfunded mandate that will be coming down and we will all be facing over the next several years. I will work hard. I love West Hartford, and I will be the person that will help to implement the right changes and move our town in a proper direction as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blanks.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford, WHCTV, candidates, and to all of you for being engaged in this process. I bring a perspective to work hard for the residents of West Hartford, just as I do for the school district. My objective is to keep this town a desirable place to live, work, shop, dine, and visit, while keeping it affordable. My style is to collaborate with our town professionals, many of whom I've established a working relationship with. Town professionals have the expertise and experience on efficiency. Elected officials must ensure public policies are implemented and followed. Are there opportunities for improvement? Sure there are. I believe we can introduce light rail, such as train stop along the New Park Avenue corridor, which could reduce the number of cars traveling on our roads, highways, and reduce carbon emission. I want to maintain our high-quality schools, attracting businesses and create local employment, repair the infrastructure we rely on, safeguard our environment, protect and enhance senior services. My intent is to work hard to make West Hartford the best town and a more inviting town that cares about all people. I listen carefully and work collaboratively to address issues that may impact many by decisions made. As a parent, taxpayer, and government employee, I'm committed to being a good steward of public funds, creating effective public policy, and delivering services that impact our community. Together, we can continue to capitalize on our strengths and build areas that need improvement. On November 5th, I'm asking for your vote on row A for myself, Carole A. Blanks, and the entire Democratic slate.
Mr. Wenograd.
Thank you to the League and to WHCT for airing this, and for everybody else, again, for coming up and for coming out and for watching on TV. There's much to love about living in West Hartford. Our residents are engaging and welcoming. Our local government is well managed and responsive. It is no accident that we were named one of the best places to live by Money Magazine, and a top 10 school district by Niche, and the only one of the top 10 that has our diversity. All doing this while maintaining a AAA bond rating. Or that we are one of only three towns in Connecticut which regained property values from the recession by 2017 and kept those gains by 2018. Our local economy is strong. Every single part of town has seen new development. West Hartford is the place where businesses want to be. But what I value most are our residents. Our town includes young families and seniors, all income levels, and a diverse mix of races and cultures. I make it a priority to keep West Hartford affordable with fiscal prudence, a growing tax base, vibrant schools, libraries, and senior services. Throughout my 4 years in the council, I've worked with my colleagues to improve our environmental policies. We've made the town safer for bikes and pedestrians, and we've added curbside recycling for clothing and expanded yard waste pickup. These actions have already had a direct impact by reducing the amount of waste we collect. This is not only good for the environment, but is actually saving you money. I personally was very proud to speak out against the anti-immigrant agenda coming from Washington. West Hartford is proof that the xenophobes are wrong. We are better for our immigrant community and more than 60 languages spoken in our schools. I've always fought for what I believe in and will continue to fight for West Hartford. Thank you, and I hope that you will vote to elect me, Ben Wenograd, a Democrat for Town Council, and for the rest of our wonderful Democratic team.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wenograd, and all candidates. Thank you for taking the challenge of running for public office. And we welcome you all to the involvement in our civic government, right? Very important that we all take part as much as we can. The audience will now I would also like to thank our timers. We have 6 timers. We have a question screener from the League of Women Voters who have dedicated their evenings to what we are trying to help the public get to know about these candidates. We hope it assists you as you go to the polls on November 5th. We do remember to vote. And for those of you who are watching this program on television, I want you to be sure that you know that there are 6 more candidates, that there is not just one debate, there are 2, so that all 6 candidates have enough time to be able to speak to you. And those in the audience, please share this with your friends, and hopefully get a few more folks that will tune in to WHCTV, our West Hartford Community Interactive Television. Thank you, and good evening.